Hey guys, Taeian here. So I decided to do a video. I've been meaning to do this video in a while. I wrote an article on it a while ago. Somebody asked me what causes the bubble gut. So if you go to Taeian the Talking Camel, my Facebook page, if you go on there, Taeian the Talking Camel on Facebook, you'll see a few years back in like 2017 or so, I wrote two different articles on Palumboism or slash GH gut. And I wrote all the factors that that can cause it and or causes it. And if you look back, you'll see nobody on the internet talking about this prior to the date that I posted the article. Like nobody was talking about this. You know, they all had their suspicions of this or that. And then since my article, a few people have talked about these causes. But yeah, you'll see back in my article. Maybe I'll edit this and post. A snippet from it there. That was the first to actually bring this to light, what causes actual GH gut and the bubble gut. So yeah, jumping right into it, the main there's multiple factors, but there is a few main ones that are more higher on the list of what is actually going on. And one of the biggest reasons we see it more so today, and we never seen it quite before, is due to the GH use. Again, if you see my article, I write on the because I have my GH article too, and I write on this that the intestinal walls are so thin for you to get that much growth of that soft tissue from something like GH. I forget how thick the intestinal lining is. I've looked it up before, I forget. Sorry, guys. But yeah, for you to get any bit of actual proper thickening of the whole wall, you would literally have times 50'd all your tissue in your goddamn body to have that actually distend and protrude out your gut. Now, however, GH gut is seen in natural too. It's not just GH use, and this is due to a mixture of factors, just simply overeating carbs, but the wrong carbs and or carbs that don't agree with your body, and or essentially food intolerances too. So you'll see a natural go and eat a whole bunch of carbs that don't digest well, and they will also get the pregnant belly. And of course this goes away because it's just a temporary effect. You also see this in, which I'm going to link to the GHUs too, with SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, in people who are fully natural, or like, you know, that beer gut, that hard big tummy look you see in naturals all the time. And what's happening here is so small intestinal bacterial overgrowth is essentially so the small intestine is essentially sterile. You have a valve in between the small and the large intestine, which it can become weakened, or if you just so backed up constipated, where the valve doesn't fully get its cleansing and closing effect, where bacteria can back up from the large intestine into the small intestine. The small intestine is where everything gets digested basically, and the only thing that goes through the small intestine is essentially fiber. Like protein leaves behind like a 4% ash content and stuff like that. Like most everything is fully digested except fiber in humans, and that's where the bacteria digest it in the large intestine. So when there's bacteria in the small intestine, that's where our food is still kind of whole, you know, stomach acids breaking down, then some enzymes are digesting it in the stomach, and then most of the enzymes are in the small intestine digesting it. So while the enzymes are trying to fully break food down so it can be absorbed through the small intestine, and now when bacteria is there, bacteria also gets to eat on the food in the small intestine. So bacteria is getting its fair share that the enzymes should just be digesting. And what happens there is that what bacteria does is it digests the food, and so it will depend on the type of bacteria, especially in SIBO, usually a dominance of hydrogen or methane producing bacteria or anaerobes. Sorry guys, a little brain fart there. So yeah, you have bacteria in your small intestine, where food that bacteria would never touch, such as carbs, namely, and FODMAPs and fiber, and is digesting them and creating gas in the small intestine. So that is creating way more bloat than it ever could in just the large intestine alone, because it would just have the fiber, you know, bulk up your stool and do its normal thing. Now it's creating all this gas living in your small intestine. So naturals can get it too if they have a weak the Avik valve between the large and small intestines. But why this is seen highly in bodybuilders, which it can be seen just from overeating as well, Why it's seen highly in bodybuilders is, namely today, especially like top tier ones, is the GH abuse. Now, growth hormone abuse is causing this via multiple factors. So one, GH abuse, obviously, as we know, causes high blood sugar levels. High blood sugar levels causes nerve damage. Nerve damage is so like anything, your body, your nerves is what sends the electrical signal for you to move your muscles, your fingers, your arms, everything. Your intestines, they're what they do is their process, the contraction and relaxation is what moves your stool through your body. And how it does that is via nerves. So having high blood pressure, and this is seen in diabetics all the time, not due to the insulin use, but due to them living an unhealthy lifestyle, they're getting nerve damage. So the nerve damage in the intestines is causing very weak intestinal contractions, and it can even cause a weakening of the valve between the large and small intestine. So with the weakening of the contractions, this causes slow bowel movements. This doesn't allow the proper cleansing and closing effect also of the valve between the small and large intestines. What happens then, as I explained earlier, that is when bacteria can overflow from the large intestine to the small intestine, and bam, this is why you have a rampant amount of people who abuse GH have the GH gut. It's also not just purely, well, I mean, that is a large reason of it, but also having high blood sugar levels slows gastric emptying. And this is why a lot of people get raised appetite on insulin, is because when your blood sugar drop, it speeds up gastric emptying. So GH as a whole essentially is completely slowing down your digestion. It's slowing down your digesting. It is causing nerve damage, and it is allowing allowing bacteria to. So it can be not just from the bacteria backing up into the small intestine and creating gas, but because it's slowing your digestion as a whole, the constipation as well is another factor in causing the distended stomach. So the food waste is moving slower in your stomach, and let's say you're pooping once or twice a day, but you're eating 5 meals a day. You essentially, over a course of a week, those 2 meals that come out, but the 3 meals that build up every single day, you are backlogged full of feces. And it's quite common when they see people die to carry upwards 15 plus pounds of feces in their guts. So a healthy bowel is fairly empty with just a few meals inside the gut contents, but somebody who has slow digestion will have copious amounts of feces in their gut. So the GH abuse is causing SIBO and creating an excess amount of gas, and it's also slowing down digesting and creating slow bowels for how much food you're eating, and that is leading to an immense protrusion of the stomach. So I actually wrote some notes down for this one, guys, so I remember, so I could get everything out. So yeah, and like I said, you can see this in natural tools just from eating poorly or in excessive amounts of certain things and or food intolerances. All it takes sometimes even a little bit amount, if you have a food intolerance to something, you just have that little bit amount of that food, and that can also cause it too. And I'm sure people watching this have they can attest to it. They know their triggers. Oh man, I can't have hot peppers. I eat hot peppers. Bam, my gut just explodes. Okay, insulin. I want to touch on how insulin can semi-cause it as well, but not as drastic, and it's extremely more temporary. So the way insulin can cause it, so when you take insulin, it shuttles nutrients into the muscle, to the fat cells, to wherever it needs to go. That insulin, it does it for. One of the issues with insulin is that potassium highly gets shuttled with all the other nutrients into the muscle. And as seen in studies, insulin can cause a very strong acute drop in insulin levels in the serum, which goes into the muscle. The issue with that dropping potassium levels is, so one of potassium's effects in the body is also, oh my God, what am I trying to say here, guys? is controlling is contraction of all the muscles essentially, in controlling intestinal contraction. This is why you see a side effect in studies of having low potassium levels is intestinal paralysis. And then also with it in the studies, they'll see abdominal bloating. So it's doing the same thing essentially that growth hormone is doing by causing constipation, which low potassium, another list, constipation, intestinal paralysis, whatever. So, feces are able to build up. It's helping the body to create a good environment for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth to happen, and even just the constipation alone from it. But insulin use in it causing that is generally, like I said, a more acute temporary effect versus you using GH even just for mild periods, not just extremely prolonged periods. Is that nerve damage and the slowed gastric emptying. What else did I have written down? No, the other topic that I wanted to touch on it, which can be more so mild, and that's why you don't see on especially many bodybuilders of the golden era and whatnot, is that prolonged steroid use, as shown mostly in animal studies. There's no real human studies, so they don't care to look at it, but we do see in some human studies with like testosterone and stuff, is that so when you take steroids, you shut down the HPT8, the hypo. Oh my god, guys, I don't know what's wrong. Well, it's late. It's like 6 a.m. for me. Well, not early, it's late. Yeah. Anyways, steroids shut down your whole natural hormone production cascade. One of those hormones that get lowered with it is actually your adrenal hormones and your cortisol. Cortisol gets a really bad rep. Having high cortisol, which the bad rep should really be for low cortisol. If you have low cortisol, you die, which is like John F. Kennedy had Addison's disease. Cortisol is the life hormone, period. I don't know why I get such a bad rap. Be like, oh, some excess fat gain when it's high, and it is dangerous when it's high, but it's way more dangerous, especially more dangerous for bodybuilding when it's low. Cortisol is literally the life hormone. Cortisol is needed for the utilization of all the energy that you intake for protein, carbs, and fats. Cortisol is needed to raise gastric acid, your stomach acid, so you can digest properly. And then, like I said, after it's been digested, it's needed for utilization of your protein, carbs, and fats. It is literally the life hormone that gives you energy, and that is why cortisol is highest in the morning. We wake up, our body's meant to be full of energy, to be breaking down, digesting food rapidly, adequately, and so we have rapid, adequate energy. And that's why it lowers at nighttime. Nighttime is a time for our body to slow down. Get quieter and ready for sleep. Which I'm probably going to do another video on that afterwards, actually. I'll briefly touch on it here, even though it's semi-off topic. Another thing is, guys, you should be trying to have your largest meals earlier in the day, and as the studies show, this has been proven to fix insulin resistance and multiple sex hormone imbalances. And again, so the issue with you eating big meals later at night is that it's your body. So as I said, your body's cortisol is highest in the morning. And that's when it can digest the most amount of food. And that's when the gastric acid is high from the cortisol. That's when you're rapidly utilizing your protein, carbs, and fats. When you're trying to eat big meals later on the day, when the cortisol is low, everything else is low, and the body's like, what's going on? I can't digest all this food. This is the time where my body is supposed to be quieting down, and the body's trying to spike cortisol, and at the same time, it can't adequately, and you have this massive amount of food, and the body can't really digest it. So the food's sitting in the gut and digesting really slow for a long period of time. That usually leads to insomnia for people, and the fact that it's disrupting sleep, and that disrupted sleep is causing a whole hormone disruption. So yeah, that is why studies have shown that where you had the biggest meals earliest in the day and slowly let up on the meals was fix a whole bunch of hormone and health markers improved and so on. So yeah, guys, eat most of your food early in the day. I do not know why I went into a big explanation on that, because it's about SIBO and Palumboism. Last thing to go on here, guys. The limb atrophy. Again, you go back and find my article, you won't find anybody touch on this until like after my articles. The first one that put those pieces together really there with the limb atrophy. being seen in bodybuilders, you know, like Dave Palumbo, Dorian Yates, and so on. So yeah, the growth hormone causing high blood sugar levels, causing nerve damage. When you get nerve damage in all your muscles, essentially, you see in the limbs easiest, because you know it's what am I trying to say here? You see in all their muscles, like the back and everything shrinks, but the limbs is just a more visual, you know, to see somebody's arms go from 20 inches to, you know, whatever. Yeah, the nerve impulses is what is, you know, allows you to move your muscles. And it's that proper contraction of the muscle which is needed to cause muscular damage and growth. This is why recent studies have shown that when they told people to lift the weight and focus on contracting the muscle versus moving it from A to B, they saw double the growth. Or 50%, I can't remember, don't quote me, 50 to double the growth. So you losing proper contraction of muscles, is your exercise now becomes very inefficient to not efficient at all. And this is why we see their the muscles severely atrophy, is because they're not able to properly contract their muscles, have them firing properly at 100%, and their workouts all are almost essentially useless. Not fully useless, but you know, essentially like highly useless. And this is what is seen in diabetics as well. Their blood sugar is so uncontrollable that their nerve damage is so severe that they have very weak contractions of their muscles, and that's why it's always noted they have huge shrinkage of the limb muscles, arms and legs. So yeah, guys, I think that's basically it for the topic. Hopefully I covered it all adequately. I've been meaning to do this video for a long while. Like I said, you can go read my 2 articles. They're fairly more in depth. Well, I think it's about 3 articles. It was probably like 2015, 16, or 17 on Taeian Talking Camel. It might be on my website under articles too. Yeah, I did 3 articles: Palumboism, GH gut, and then the 3 articles like one after another, where they all kind of intertwine. I touch on like the steroid topic and the cortisol and so on. So yeah, give those a read as well, guys. So yeah, that's basically it. Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you for subscribing to my channel, my forums, following me, sharing my stuff, and just appreciating me and my content, guys. Whew. Sorry guys, I've done like 5 videos in a row right now, so I'm just like, I'm going and I'm trying to get it all out while I'm mentally in the mood. So hopefully I wasn't just like going too fast and just like too into it. Hopefully it was easily digestible. All right, thanks again for watching, guys. Take care.